It was a quiet afternoon at the Grand Vista Hotel. Most guests were lounging by the pool, sipping drinks, or checking emails in the lobby. Steven Seagal, dressed casually in a gray hoodie, black sweatpants, and dark sunglasses, entered the hotel. He wasn't surrounded by cameras or fans. He wanted a simple, peaceful day. Just a man, blending into the crowd. At the same time, the hotel's head security guard, a tall man with a sharp jawline and a no-nonsense attitude, was making his rounds. His eyes scanned the lobby, landing on Steven. Something about him seemed off. Maybe it was the hood, the sunglasses, or the way he walked calmly but deliberately. "Excuse me, sir," the guard said, stepping in front of Steven. His tone was firm, authoritative. "Can I see some ID?" Steven paused, slightly raising an eyebrow, but stayed calm. "ID? For what reason exactly?" he asked politely, his deep voice measured, calm. "Just standard procedure," the guard replied, though there was a sharp edge to his voice. "We don't allow unknown individuals wandering around freely. I need to know who you are." Steven's companions, who had been walking behind him, exchanged worried glances. The other hotel guests started noticing the tension, but weren't sure why a man in a hoodie was being stopped so aggressively. "I understand," Steven said smoothly, placing his hands in front of him in a non-threatening manner. "But I assure you, I'm here legally. No trouble, no issues. Just visiting." The guard's eyes narrowed. "You don't look like a guest registered in our system. Where's your ID?" Steven's calm demeanor only seemed to frustrate the guard more. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Listen, I'm just doing my job. Don't get smart with me." Steven didn't flinch. His presence exuded quiet confidence, not arrogance, just the kind of energy that commands attention without raising a fist. A few bystanders began pulling out their phones, sensing tension in the lobby. They whispered among themselves, curious why this simple interaction had escalated so quickly. And then Steven did something that left everyone watching completely stunned. What Steven did next left everyone around speechless. The lobby's atmosphere shifted. What started as a routine ID check quickly turned into a tense standoff. The security guard's jaw tightened, and his eyes locked on Steven, as if trying to read some hidden thread in his calm, unassuming posture. "Sir," the guard said, taking a step closer, "I need to see ID. Now." Steven sighed softly, unbothered by the growing audience. "I've already explained," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I'm here legally, no issues. Why is my presence a problem?" The guard's face flushed slightly. "Because you look suspicious. That's enough reason. Stop being difficult." Steven didn't raise his voice or show any sign of irritation. Instead, he placed his hands in front of him, palms open, projecting non-threat while projecting confidence. "I am not being difficult. I am being cooperative. But I also expect respect while doing so." Some bystanders began pulling out their phones. A young woman whispered into her camera, "This security guy is harassing someone for no reason. Look at how calm he is." "Calm, yes, but suspicious," the guard muttered under his breath. He tightened his grip on the strap of his radio, subtly signaling that backup might be needed. Steven's companions exchanged worried glances. One of them whispered, "Maybe we should just leave. Don't make it worse." Steven shook his head slightly. "No," he said quietly, looking around at the crowd forming. "Sometimes standing still is the right answer. Let's see how this plays out." The guard, feeling increasingly challenged by Steven's calm defiance, stepped even closer. "I said ID now." Steven raised his eyebrows, still measured. "I am reaching for it now. There is no need for aggression. Please step back." The guard's voice grew louder, almost shouting. "Step back? Who do you think you are, telling me to step back?" At that moment, bystanders began murmuring loudly. Phones were raised to record the confrontation, and whispers spread. "Who is this guy? He looks dangerous, but calm. Why is the guard being so aggressive?" Steven's calmness seemed to unsettle the guard even more. Every word he spoke was deliberate, unshaken. "I am here peacefully. My presence does not threaten you or anyone else. Respect goes both ways." The guard's frustration bubbled over. "Respect? You don't get respect until I see your ID and verify who you are." Steven remained composed, eyes meeting the guards without aggression. Sir, I am showing you respect by cooperating. I only ask that you extend the same courtesy. By now, the crowd was fully engaged. A few guests whispered, "He's not scared. Look at how calm he is." Some filmed the interaction in real time, live streaming to social media. The guard leaned in, his face red, almost trembling with anger. "You think you're better than me? Don't get smart with me." Steven's voice remained even and strong. "I am not trying to be better than anyone. I am trying to do what is right. There is no need for hostility when we can resolve this calmly." The tension in the lobby was thick enough to cut with a knife. People were holding their breath. The guard's hand hovered over his radio, contemplating calling for backup. Every bystander recording felt the same mix of fear and fascination. Then Steven did something subtle but powerful. He shifted slightly, opened his jacket just enough to reveal a hint of the movie star persona most people would recognize, though still understated. Whispers grew in the crowd. The young woman filming spoke directly into her camera. "Guys, this man is calm, collected, and standing up to someone who clearly has no reason to harass him. If you've ever seen someone treated unfairly by authority, comment below and tell us which country and city you're watching from." The guard, oblivious to the growing recognition around him, barked, "I don't care what people say. You're not above the rules." Steven remained unshaken, his calm presence filling the space around him like a quiet force field. "I am not above the rules. I am abiding by them. But respect is not optional. Everyone deserves it, even in tense situations like this." A few onlookers stepped closer, murmuring to each other about the growing tension. Some quietly commented online as they recorded. Every eye in the lobby was now focused on the quiet confrontation, sensing that something extraordinary was unfolding. And just as the security guard's frustration reached a boiling point, something remarkable was about to happen. Something that would leave everyone in the lobby stunned and immediately talking about this incident for days to come. What happened next completely changed the dynamic, and the guard still had no idea who he was dealing with. The lobby had grown noticeably crowded. Guests and passers-by had stopped what they were doing, sensing that something unusual was happening. Phones were raised high, quietly recording the escalating confrontation between Steven Seagal and the security guard. The air was thick with anticipation. Everyone could feel that this was no ordinary interaction. The guard's frustration was now palpable. His hands were tense, jaw clenched, and eyes darting between Steven and the slowly growing crowd. "Listen," he barked, voice rising. "I've asked you multiple times to show ID. Now, this is your final warning. If you don't comply, I'll have no choice but to take action." Steven's deep, calm voice cut through the tension. "I am complying, but aggression will not help anyone. Please, step back and let this be resolved peacefully." A small gasp came from a nearby table. Guests whispered among themselves, impressed by Steven's calm demeanor. One young man murmured, "He's not even flinching. He's completely composed." The guard, feeling his authority challenged by Steven's composure, leaned forward, lowering his voice into a growl. "Do you think you can talk to me like that? I decide how this situation is handled." Steven stayed completely still. His eyes met the guard's, steady and unwavering. "I respect your position, but respect must go both ways. Treating someone unfairly will not help anyone, and it will not resolve the situation." At that moment, Steven's companions, who had been quietly watching from a few steps behind, exchanged worried glances. One whispered, "Maybe we should just leave." Steven shook his head slightly. "No," he said in a measured tone. "Walking away is sometimes the easier option, but standing with integrity matters more." The guard's face grew red with anger. He raised his hand as if to signal for backup, but the crowd's murmuring made him hesitate. Phones were recording every move, live streams were starting to pick up the scene, and strangers in the lobby were stepping closer, curious. "You think this is some game?" the guard snapped. "You don't get to lecture me. You're lucky I haven't called the police yet." Steven's expression remained calm, almost serene. "This is not a game," he said slowly, each word deliberate. "But shouting and threats will not resolve anything. I am here peacefully, and I ask that you treat me with fairness." The tension escalated further when one of the bystanders stepped forward, speaking firmly. "Sir, he hasn't done anything wrong. Why are you harassing him like this?" The guard spun toward the person, voice sharp and threatening. "Stay out of this, or you'll be next." Steven didn't react. Instead, he subtly shifted his posture, standing just slightly taller, exuding a quiet but undeniable authority. His presence seemed to command attention without a single aggressive motion. The room, filled with whispers and cautious observers, felt the shift in energy. Guests and staff alike were now murmuring among themselves. Who is this man? He's not scared at all. He's handling the situation so calmly, like he's used to this. Steven's voice, calm and resonant, filled the lobby again. Being calm is not weakness. Staying composed is not fear. I ask only that we resolve this situation with respect and dignity. The security guard's anger was visibly boiling. He was outnumbered, outmaneuvered, and slowly realizing that his aggressive tactics were failing. But pride kept him from stepping back. Meanwhile, the crowd's anticipation grew. Phones continued filming, capturing every tense exchange. Social media live streams were already going viral as onlookers quietly shared what was unfolding. Some whispered to each other, "This is unbelievable. He's not reacting like anyone else would." Even Steven's companions, who had been anxious moments before, now looked slightly reassured. They began to whisper to the growing audience, subtly explaining that he was a martial arts expert, known for calmness in tense situations. The guard's face flushed with frustration. "I don't care who you are. You still have to follow the rules." Steven finally stepped slightly closer, his calm voice dropping just enough to be heard clearly over the murmurs. "I am following the rules. I have done nothing wrong. But standing in hostility will not make the situation better. Respect is earned through action, not force." For a brief moment, the guard faltered. The crowd noticed, whispering to each other. Something about Steven's presence, the calm, commanding energy, the unwavering composure, was beginning to shift the atmosphere. And then, as whispers spread through the crowd about his subtle movements and demeanor, a bystander gasped quietly, "Wait, isn't that Steven Seagal?" The guard, however, remained oblivious. He tightened his jaw and planted himself firmly in front of Steven, unaware that the situation was about to take a dramatic turn, changing the entire dynamic of the confrontation. The crowd was about to realize who they were really watching, and the guard still had no idea. The lobby had gone completely silent, except for the quiet hum of phones recording the tense confrontation. Steven Seagal stood with calm authority, hands relaxed, but his presence commanding attention. Every word he spoke seemed to carry weight, not just because of what he said, but because of the sheer energy he radiated. Then, almost imperceptibly, a voice broke through the quiet whispers. "Wait, isn't that Steven Seagal?" The words were barely audible, but they traveled like wildfire. A couple of nearby guests stopped in their tracks, eyes widening as they turned toward the man in the hoodie and sunglasses. Slowly, more people began whispering, some nudging each other. "That's him, the action star, the martial arts legend." "No way. Steven Seagal. Holy." The security guard has no clue who he's confronting. The energy in the lobby shifted instantly. People began pointing discreetly, murmuring in amazement. Phones were raised higher as everyone tried to capture the moment. Some even started live streaming, their excitement audible in hushed tones. The security guard, still unaware, barked sharply, "I don't care who you are. Show me your ID now." Steven's calm gaze didn't waver. He simply raised a hand in a measured, peaceful gesture. "Sir," he said quietly but firmly, "I am showing respect by cooperating. I only ask the same courtesy in return." One of the bystanders, a young man filming the scene, could no longer contain his excitement. "Guys, this is Steven Seagal, the Steven Seagal. Look at him, calm and unshaken, standing up to this guy." The crowd around them grew larger, pressing closer, murmuring in awe. "That's impossible. He's not scared at all. He's handling this better than anyone else could." The security guard finally noticed the increasing attention, eyes darting around nervously. He glanced at the crowd, trying to gauge why everyone was whispering and filming. But still, he had no idea who Steven really was. Pride and ego kept him from backing down. Steven, however, remained humble. He didn't shout, he didn't flaunt his fame, and he didn't use his identity as leverage. Instead, he spoke calmly, addressing the situation with integrity. "I understand you have a job to do," he said, "but fairness and respect are not optional. Treating someone without cause undermines both." The murmurs in the crowd grew louder. A woman whispered excitedly to her friend, "He's literally a legend, and he's not even making a scene. Look how composed he is." The young man recording directly addressed his viewers. "Guys, did you recognize him before the security guard did? If yes, type Seagal in the comments. This is insane. Just look at how calm he is under pressure." The security guard, now slightly flustered, finally glanced directly at Steven. Something about the calm intensity in his eyes made him pause. For a moment, he hesitated, his voice faltering. "Wait, are you?" But Steven didn't answer. He simply maintained his calm, letting the moment speak for itself. The energy in the room had shifted completely. People were cheering silently, cameras recording every second, the tension replaced by awe and amazement. Guests whispered to each other, "I can't believe he's standing there, just calm." Imagine being the security guard right now, realizing you've been intimidating a world-famous martial artist without knowing it. Steven's companions, who had been nervous earlier, now looked reassured. They subtly gestured for the guard to back off, giving Steven the space he deserved while allowing the crowd to witness the exchange. The security guard swallowed hard, his authority slipping as the realization crept in. He still hadn't heard confirmation from anyone yet, but the crowd's collective awe made him question everything he had assumed. And in that moment, the stage was set. The guard was about to learn, in the most humbling way possible, exactly who he was dealing with, and the world watching on phones and cameras was ready to witness it all. The crowd already knew. The security guard still didn't. And what happened next would leave everyone in the lobby absolutely stunned. The tension in the lobby had reached a boiling point. Phones were held high, guests whispered excitedly, and every eye in the room was fixed on Steven Seagal. The security guard's chest heaved, face red with frustration. He had expected compliance, fear, or at least irritation from Steven. Instead, he faced calm, unwavering authority, and it unnerved him. "I've asked you multiple times to show ID," the guard barked. "You are making this difficult. People don't get to talk to me like that." Steven, standing tall, took a measured breath. His voice, deep and commanding yet calm, resonated through the lobby. "I have already complied. I have done nothing wrong. Yet you continue to treat me as if I am a threat. That is not fairness. That is not justice. That is abuse of authority." A hush fell over the crowd. Even the staff who were standing by stopped in their tracks, mouths slightly open. Nobody had ever seen someone confront authority with such calm, calculated dignity. The security guard's jaw tightened. "Do you think you can lecture me?" he snapped, voice quivering slightly now. "I have a job to do." "Yes," Steven said quietly, letting each word land carefully. "And your job is to ensure safety and respect. But safety does not require intimidation. Respect does not require threats. You are a guardian, not a judge or executioner. Treating people without cause as suspicious is wrong." The crowd, sensing the guard losing control, began murmuring in agreement. Phones captured Steven's words, live streams buzzing with comments. "This man is standing his ground like a true legend. Unbelievable calm. Respect." The guard's face flushed deeper. His authority had been undermined, and the crowd's support for Steven made it even worse. You think you're above the rules? You're just a man like everyone else." Steven's calm eyes met his, unwavering. "I am a man, yes, but all men, all people, deserve to be treated with dignity. You do not gain respect by threatening others. You lose it." A few guests whispered excitedly, "He's right. The guard is clearly panicking." "I've never seen someone handle tension like that," another murmured. The guard's hands trembled slightly as he gestured for Steven to step aside. You're making this difficult." "I am not making this difficult," Steven said slowly, voice calm but firm. You are making it difficult by allowing assumptions and hostility to guide your actions. Stand down and let fairness guide your judgment. At this point, the murmurs grew louder. People in the lobby were pointing, some clapping softly. Even strangers in the hallway paused to watch the confrontation unfold. The aura of Steven Seagal, his quiet authority, his unwavering composure, his ability to command respect without aggression, had shifted the energy of the room entirely. Steven's companions, now fully confident in his control of the situation, nodded approvingly. The guard, flustered, finally stepped back slightly, realizing his tone, his threats, and his assumptions had all failed. Listen, Steven continued, addressing the guard with unwavering calm. Authority is a responsibility, not a weapon. Your job is to protect, to serve, not to intimidate or humiliate. Respect is earned, not demanded through fear. The crowd erupted into quiet applause. Phones recorded every word. Live streams buzzed with excitement. Legendary calm. Unreal composure. Steven Seagal just schooled a security guard on respect. The guard's face showed complete embarrassment. Sweat beaded on his forehead. He opened his mouth to respond, but found no words. The quiet authority Steven exuded had stripped him of the power he thought he held. And the crowd continued to cheer, whispering, "That's a legend, handling the situation with dignity and calm." In that moment, Steven Seagal had turned a tense confrontation into a lesson on humility, fairness, and integrity. Not with shouting, not with force, but with calm, commanding presence. The security guard was humbled, and the lobby was filled with awe and admiration. The guard finally realized he had underestimated the man standing before him. But what the crowd did next would completely change the story. The lobby was buzzing like never before. Phones continued to record, whispers turned into excited chatter, and everyone could feel the atmosphere shift completely. Steven Seagal's calm authority had already turned the tables, but what was about to happen next would leave everyone, especially the security guard, utterly stunned. A staff member, who had been observing from the side, finally stepped forward. "Sir, I think you might not realize who you've just been confronting," he said cautiously. The security guard froze. "What do you mean?" he asked, trying to maintain a sense of authority, though his voice trembled slightly. The staff member gestured subtly toward Steven. "That's Steven Seagal, martial arts legend, action star, humanitarian. He's famous worldwide." The words seemed to hang in the air. The guard blinked, then blinked again. His jaw dropped slightly as the realization sank in. "Wait, what?" Steven, still calm, simply nodded slightly. "Yes," he said, almost quietly, letting the moment speak for itself. He didn't gloat, he didn't smirk, he merely stood there, composed, dignified, radiating quiet confidence. The crowd around them erupted into murmurs of awe and excitement. Phones swiveled to capture Steven's face from every angle. Whispers of disbelief echoed. "That's Steven Seagal. No way. The guard just harassed him without even knowing. Unbelievable. And he's handled it so calmly." The security guard's face flushed crimson. His chest heaved, pride crumbling as the crowd began gently laughing, not maliciously, but in astonished disbelief. He had been caught in his own mistake, and there was no dignified way to recover. Steven, however, did something remarkable. Instead of pointing out the guard's error or humiliating him further, he spoke with quiet authority and wisdom. Respect is not given based on fear or assumptions. It is earned through understanding, patience, and fairness. Treat every person as you would want to be treated, regardless of who they are or who they might be. The crowd grew silent for a moment, letting the words sink in. Phones were still recording, and viewers online were watching live, commenting rapidly. "Legendary. This is true humility." He didn't even need to shout to command respect. A few onlookers stepped closer, pointing discreetly at the guard. "Look at him," realizing he was wrong the hard way. The security guard, now fully aware of what had just happened, swallowed hard. He opened his mouth to speak, but found no words. Every instinct to defend himself against the embarrassment failed. For the first time, He realized the weight of underestimating someone based purely on appearance and assumptions. Steven's companions gently placed a hand on his shoulder, guiding him toward the elevator as the crowd continued to buzz. Even as he moved away, the energy he left behind lingered, a powerful reminder of dignity under pressure. A young woman filming spoke directly into her camera. "Guys," the guard finally realized who he was dealing with. Steven Seagal just taught everyone in this lobby a lesson on respect and humility. Should he have revealed his identity earlier? Type yes or no in the comments. Meanwhile, the rest of the crowd clapped softly, many cheering quietly in admiration. Guests whispered to one another about the incredible poise Steven had shown. "I've never seen someone so calm in front of authority." This is exactly how everyone should handle injustice. The security guard, standing alone now, rubbed the back of his neck, clearly shaken. He had gone from a position of perceived power to one of embarrassment in a matter of minutes. It was a humbling experience he wouldn't forget. Outside the lobby, the incident had already begun to spread. Phones uploaded clips in real time. Social media notifications buzzed as viewers across the world tuned in to witness the confrontation. Comments poured in. Steven Seagal handled that like a true master. Dignity wins every time. The guard learned a lesson he'll never forget. Steven Seagal, ever composed, finally addressed the crowd once more. Remember, respect is universal. It is not given because of fame, position, or power. It is given because it is right. Let this guide your actions, today and always. The lobby erupted into quiet applause, phones still capturing every word. The security guard, humbled and shaken, finally nodded, understanding fully the lesson Steven had just imparted. The world was watching, and the story had gone viral. But the final moment, the ultimate lesson in dignity and respect, was yet to come. The moment Steven Seagal exited the lobby, the energy didn't fade, it amplified. Phones continued recording, whispers turned into chatter, and social media feeds exploded as clips of the confrontation spread worldwide. Within minutes, people everywhere were witnessing a legendary display of composure, integrity, and respect. The security guard, once brimming with authority and confidence, was left humbly reflecting on his actions. His colleagues gave him sympathetic looks, while the lobby staff quietly shook their heads, acknowledging the lesson that had unfolded in front of them. Even without anyone explicitly saying it, the guard understood. He had underestimated someone, and the consequences, both public and personal, were immediate. Meanwhile, online viewers were quick to react. Clips from multiple angles surfaced on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, each garnering thousands, then millions of views. Comments poured in rapidly. "This is insane." Steven Seagal stayed completely calm, a true master of martial arts and humility. Lesson learned: respect isn't demanded, it's earned. News outlets picked up the story. Headlines flashed across websites. Steven Seagal shows unmatched composure in viral lobby confrontation. Security guard humbled by martial arts legend, and dignity and respect win over authority. The incident became more than a viral video. It became a conversation about fairness, humility, and how to handle conflict with grace. Even the guard faced consequences. Internal investigations were launched, and he was required to undergo additional training on professionalism and handling high-profile individuals. While he didn't face severe punishment, the embarrassment and public scrutiny were lessons he would carry forever. Through it all, Steven Seagal's actions remained measured, humble, and inspiring. He did not gloat, he did not taunt, and he did not let fame dictate his response. Instead, he used the moment to convey a universal message. Respect is not about power, position, or fear. Respect is about treating others fairly, no matter who they are. Humility, calm, and integrity will always command more admiration than aggression ever could. Fans and followers around the world echoed his words, sharing the video, creating memes, and discussing the lessons in forums and comment sections. Teachers used the clip to show students real-life examples of conflict resolution. Martial artists analyzed his poise as a textbook case of mental discipline. Meanwhile, the crowd that had witnessed the event live recounted it endlessly to friends and family. I was there, they said, and I watched a true master teach a lesson in respect without raising a hand. Steven's companions, initially nervous at the start, reflected on the incident with awe. He didn't just handle the situation, one whispered. He elevated everyone in the room, even the guard, through dignity alone. By the evening, the story had gone viral in over 20 countries. Hashtags like hashtag Steven Seagal respect, hashtag dignity wins, and hashtag humility over authority were trending. Millions of viewers praised the calm, commanding way he handled an unfair situation, turning a potential confrontation into an enduring life lesson. And in the end, the moral was clear. Real strength is not shown through aggression or intimidation. Real power comes from calm, measured actions, integrity, and the ability to command respect without ever demanding it. If you believe everyone deserves respect, regardless of who they are or how they look, type respect in the comments. Share this story with your friends and family, and subscribe for more inspiring tales where dignity and humility triumph over unfairness and arrogance. The lobby incident had ended, but Steven Seagal's lesson, recorded, shared, and celebrated worldwide, would continue to inspire millions for years to come.